name, major, and where are you from? And a word that describes leadership.
Hi, I'm Christy Peterson. My major is business management with a minor in leadership studies. What was the next question? Where I'm from? I'm from Claremont, Florida. It's like Central Florida. And then, are you from Claremont? Close? Okay. And one word that describes leadership is relationship.
Did you want to go?
No.
Okay. Hi, my name is Catherine Edmonds, studying Communications and Business Administration. I am originally from Macon, Georgia, and the one word to describe leadership for me is transformational.
Hello everybody, my name is Trevor Davis. I am studying marine biology, and I'm from southwestern Montana. And one word that describes leadership, fun.
Hi everybody, my name is Cordell Walks. I'm majoring in communications and I'm also minoring in the leadership studies here. I'm from Pahokee, Florida. I'm pretty sure nobody knows where that is. It's like a little hour and a half west of here. Oh, yeah. Sorry. And the one word to describe leadership would be inspirational.
Hello. My name is Clayton Sims. I am from Jupiter, Florida. I too am a marine biology major, and the word that I have selected for defining leadership is honest.
Thank you. So I have a variety of questions, and I'm going to ask them individually to answer them. Hopefully at the end we have time for you to ask questions to them. We have limited time, but we will try to get an interaction among you and them as well. First, thank you for being here with us, to all of you. But now the first question goes to Catherine. Catherine, why lead?
Before I think you can answer why lead, you need to know for yourself why serve. Well, leadership is, we talk about different styles of leadership and there's different flavors that every individual has, but at the end of the day, no matter your capacity of leadership, you are serving a community, you're serving a group, and so why are you serving that community? What is the purpose there? And I think a lot of you have heard the start with why. What is the purpose of what you're doing, why you're doing it? And when you answer that question, then you're able to answer why lead.
So as you know your purpose, we also have to know our values. So Christy, and this also goes to Christy and Cordell, what are values? What are yours, and how do you align your actions with these values? Can you be more specific of what that looks like for you?
So values, values for me, I think would be the part that defines what we do. It's our guiding principles. It's that thing that determines why you're waking up in the morning and making the choices that you're making. And so my personal values are integrity and self-development. And I came to find those personal values when I came to FAU. And somebody asked me that question and I looked at them and I was like, I don't even know how I can possibly answer what are values. And I had to really go through it, and I made this huge list about what I thought my personal values were. And it wasn't until I started doing my day-to-day things and aligning my actions and looking at, okay, base, can you hear me if I just use without, okay, this is throwing me off. So when I looked at that big list and I was thinking about my actions and I was like, what are the things that I'm doing that are aligning back to this list? And then I realized I had family as one of the top things. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going out of my way every single day to make it a point to be there for my family because I'm here in college and I'm doing what's best for me right now. And so I love them, but I realized self-development was probably one of the biggest things on my list because I was making steps for my future and to progress myself and doing things that maybe scared me a little bit, but that were going to be something that was going to make my future better. And so I realized that self-development and that integrity piece, those were my values. And how I realized to align those values with my actions were through everything that I was doing. And so when I would think about what makes me happy, when I was happy in life, I realized it was because I was making choices that aligned with my values. And then when I was upset or feeling like I'm not going in the direction that I want to go right now, I was realizing my values weren't aligning at that point. And so I think for yourselves, ask that question of, if you're at some point in your life where you're not happy, what are your values? Because you're probably not making the steps or you're not making strides in the direction that your values are.
Just to piggyback off what she said, I feel that values are basically what what you do, like what you do when you wake up in the morning, like what drives you to do what you do. For me, my values are faith, self-progression, and wisdom. And for me, I picked those values because for me, faith is definitely number one for me. Coming here from Pahokee, Florida, it's a little small town, you know, you don't really have much out there. So it was kind of like a leap of faith coming to college, you know, jumping into something new, meeting different people, experiencing different things. I had to like go through a lot of different experiences that I haven't gone through before. So I had to take a leap of faith and just see my way through things. And also with self-progression, with development. Coming here, I wasn't, you know, most outward-going person. I didn't really speak to anybody that much. But coming here, I like progressed myself through development, through leadership, and just learning through other people. Also with wisdom, just different experiences also that I mentioned that I went through. I like had the wisdom to look at those experiences and learn from them, and just look at those mistakes and use those as lessons to better myself in development.
Thank you. Who is a leader you admire or aspire to be, and why? Clayton?
Oh, cool. My favorite is, he's a man called Howard Blackburn. He was born in the 19th century in Nova Scotia, Canada. And I won't give you his whole backstory, but I like Blackburn because he was separated from a fishing vessel in the 1890s during winter and had to row for 5 days alone in his little boat until he hit the coast of Newfoundland. And meanwhile, his friend on the second day gave up and went to sleep in the boat and died. He was treated for frostbite and lost all of his fingers and most of his toes and his nose, and then decided that he was a little bored and moved to Massachusetts, became a successful businessman, and then crossed the Atlantic by himself. And I use Blackburn as an example, and I think of him every time, pretty much every day, because he's my favorite example for how it is always inappropriate to give up. At no point is it worth it to stop even if there's no clear end in sight. Because, I mean, you're gonna hit land sometime.
Trevor, same question. Who is a leader you admire or aspire to be, and why?
So I actually was up for a while last night in bed, trying to think of this answer, to be completely honest. And I kept going back to, as a kid, I always had this one person that I always modeled everything I did off of. And most people, when I say that, think it's my dad or something like that, but it's actually not. It was Steve Irwin. For those of you that don't know who that is, it's the crocodile hunter. He was an incredible person to me growing up, and I tried to think so much of why he was a leader, and it finally came to me that it was not necessarily what he did for the state of Australia or for just conservation in general, but what he did for the planet. He recognized that he had almost an impossible goal that he was trying to attain, which was to save the environment, to save animals that weren't getting all this attention. But that didn't deter him. Even though he knew it was impossible, he still tried to save the planet. He tried to take on this incredibly immense endeavor, and at the heart of it, he still didn't get rid of the fact that he was a family man. Every trip that he went on, every excursion that he did, every adventure that he did, he was followed with his closest partners, which were his family, his kids, his wife, his crew, everything like that were the closest connections of people that he had with him. So the biggest leadership aspect you can get from that, aside from all the other things that he did, is the fact that even if your task seems daunting, even if it seems impossible, try. Be that one person who stands up to the plate and swings for that home run, even if it seems impossible.
Thank you. So, Catherine, how do you define leadership, and why is it important? To build into your answer, why lead?
So I think you hear the definition of leadership. Leadership is the art of mobilizing others to want to struggle for shared aspirations. Then you have the different principles in which leadership is. Leadership is relationship. Leadership is action. And I think there are a lot of characteristics in it. But I think more than anything, you can define leadership as your own. And so how do you wish to define leadership, and how do you want to make it your own? And I love this idea of we have the ability to achieve the impossible. What people say we cannot take on, what people say we cannot do, we actually have the ability to if simply we believe in. So many of the challenges that we face, we take ourselves out of the race before we are even given the chance to run. And so for me, leadership is you go and you run, or you walk, or you pace and you talk on your way. Whatever that looks like for you, leadership is making it your own and doing it. And so not giving up in that place and learning to just go for it and figuring out along the way, here's where I'm strong and here's where I'm not as strong, and here's where I can grow.
Clay, same question to you. How do you define leadership and why is it important to you? He's thinking. That's good.
Processing. I think my favorite way to think about leadership is as it relates to other people. Every day you interact with somebody. And all of those relationships take effort, right? So how much energy you put into a system usually determines how much energy comes out. It's the same principle with leadership. If you put in as much as you possibly can, you're going to get as much as you can possibly get right back out. If you are always trying to do your best, and not as Yoda might say, do or do not, there is no try. If you are always doing your best, then there's no opportunity for real failure. Every once in a while things won't go your way, but those are always learning experiences. You grow from it, you pick yourself back up, and you keep walking. There's never really any point at which things have to stop. I don't know if that actually answered the question.
Anyone else wants to answer? No, you did, but I want to allow the opportunity for anyone else.
I think just to piggyback off of, earlier Dr. Good said it, but I think a lot of it goes back to it's not a position. And I think too often we think in terms of leaders that it has to be that position, it has to be that title. And so for me, when I think of that definition of leadership, it comes from making a difference and standing up for something that you know is right. Making that impact, big or small, whatever it is. Because again, you're not defined by something to be a leader. And I think that's just what I think about that probably hasn't already been said yet.
Cordell, you're in my class in leadership theories. So we're learning how to develop theory in leadership. So as you start thinking about the characteristics and what we have learned in class, do you have the charisma to be an effective leader? Think of what you have learned in class so far, and when you answer this question.
Do you have to have a charisma?
And what is your charisma?
You said my charisma?
Yeah. To be an effective leader. Tell us more about your...
Well, for me, me personally, I don't think you believe you have to be a charismatic person to be a leader. I mean, it does help. It does make it more like you can be more effective being charismatic because people deal more so towards emotion than logically, especially when you're dealing more towards like with groups and stuff like that. If you try to lead groups, but I think like you can easily lead somebody so effectively, helping others, watching you act with them or watching you collaborate with them, and getting ideas from sharing them with other people. You don't have to be charismatic. You don't have to be, I don't know. I guess emotionally emotionally appeal to everybody. You can be relational. You can, I don't know, collaborative. Like I said, servant. So no, you don't have to be charismatic. Me personally, I would like to think I'm charismatic, but I don't know. But me personally, I like to think that I'm charismatic. I try to get to know people. I try to be relational because for me, I believe that leadership is relational, and you deal with people with relationships and being upfront and honest and integrity and stuff like that. So yes, I believe that. Well, for me, you try to use charismatic. Like I believe so. I believe so.
So you're charismatic and you're modest.
Trevor, what is the challenge that you have faced in campus, in your undergraduate career here at FAU, and how you overcome that?
Oh man, the challenge I face here on campus, I mean there's probably ones that I face every day that I probably don't even recognize are challenges. I would say currently a challenge that I'm facing is one of the classes I'm currently taking, it being my calculus class. There was a period of my time when I was a student where I took about 3 years off of school. My last math class was back in 2010, I want to say, and now I'm jumping right back into calculus, and no practice in between in those few years, but I'm doing everything I possibly can at the moment to try and combat that. By the last few months, even through a really busy schedule last semester and everything like that, still devoting time in my off schedule to try and learn from previous syllabuses that I had found on the internet, trying to get just that little head start, that little spurring to get into a better mindset to take this class, which is an easily transferable skill towards a leadership aspect, because no matter what, you're always going to be faced with things that you don't necessarily know or agree with or are familiar with. But you need to be able to have some solution in your back pocket or some form of preparedness ready to get involved and to get at taking care of those challenges that might face you.
Catherine?
Sure. First, I want to say that struggle is something to value. It's something really important because it allows you to reflect and understand who you are as a leader. So that's something that within our teams I like to say, value the struggle. I'll give 2 examples, one internal as just developing as a leader, and second external with a team. I really struggled as a leader when I realized that my values that I thought I had were not aligning with who I was acting as an individual, and that was something that I became distraught over. It's something I learned at Elite Owls where we had to create a list of our values, and then they looked at us and said, prove it. And that was terrifying because I couldn't prove the things that I thought I valued most. But if I say I value them, but I'm not showing it in my actions, it's not values, it's just talk to make me feel better. And so that was a reality for me that was really hard to, I guess, process, but really important to understand and saying, okay, what is the kind of person that I want to be, and what are the values that I believe most important? And as soon as I said, this is what I want, and then aligned my actions and said, I'm going to make decisions as the leaders based on my values, not necessarily how I feel, and not necessarily how I want to react right away. What are my values? And when I just started to make decisions in that manner, I found that I was becoming the person I wanted to be more and more. And so that was a huge few-month process of recognizing in a very hard struggle, but very valuable and important. Second, I'll say with working with a team, so I have the privilege of working with an incredible team with about 15 people, in which my job is to lead them within student government. And so I realized very quickly how important relationship is in building a team, because I lacked I'm a very big relationship person, but I got caught up in the day-to-day work that had to be done that I forgot to continue encouraging my team and building a relationship with them. So that at the moments that it mattered, my team, who normally would have had my back at one point, said, we don't know you anymore and you don't know us. And so my team, as we came together, it was a struggle of relationship is so important and trust is so important. It's the foundation of, if you guys, I don't know if you're in this yet, of the 5 dysfunctions of a team, number 1 is trust. If you don't have trust, you don't have anything else. And so if my team doesn't trust me, how can they move forward in the projects that we have? How can they accomplish the goals that we've set forward as a team if they don't believe I'll have their back? And so those are 2 struggles that I've had on my leadership journey that I think are really important, that helped me. And so as you continue to struggle, know those struggles are valuable, reflect and talk with them through with people who can help you say, what's the kind of person you want to be?
Christy, what's a challenge you have faced, but can you connect it to theory, since you took my theory class, and what's your favorite theory?
I don't know if I do that. Okay, well, I didn't expect the theory one. Wow, thank you, Dr. Salinas. That's okay. Situational leadership was one of the theories that I think sticks out to me when I think about some of the challenges I've had, because when, as a leader, you're put in different situations, and then really quickly your values can come into question. really fast, and you have to make decisions and how to move forward. And a lot of times when you're making those decisions, they're not about you, you're making them for other people. And so through my leadership at FAU, I was the president of my sorority. And so there were times where just a situation where occurred, a moment where I didn't have the time to go back to my executive board, to go back to my team. A decision had to be made right there, and I had to hurry up and decide, I have to make this decision on behalf of 160 women, and then hearsay for the future women of my organization, the past women of my organization, and that is a huge pressure. And so I think that challenge happened for me a lot through situational leadership. And then more so, some other challenges that I faced were directly aligning with my values. And so as I spoke about earlier, deciding between that family versus my self-development, there was a time in my college career where I thought I was going to have to go back home. And I knew that in my heart, I need to be there for my family. But I then had to make the decision of making them understand that I was doing the right thing by staying here. That if I didn't stay in school, that if I didn't continue my education, that I wasn't going to be able to help them in the future. And so that was a time for me that was probably my biggest defining moment of college. And it's something that, whether you're a freshman or a senior, you're going to continually face those things. And as Catherine said, you're going to grow and you're going to learn from them.
Thank you. So last question, and I want everyone to answer. And Clay, we'll start with you this time. What is one piece of advice you would have for any student at FAU?
Oh man, this one is going to sound super cliche because you've been hearing it since probably forever in school, but it's just be yourself. For a long time, and by a long time I mean like 17 years, like my first 17 years, I was so afraid of just like doing the thing. But then after a little while of thinking about it, I woke up one day and I just thought, like, why not? Why should I care what anybody else is looking at when I walk outside? And if you think about it, let's say you're at a dance, like your senior prom or something, and kind of nobody's dancing, and then like a group of friends goes out and starts dancing, and everyone else thinks like, oh, okay, well we'll join the dance party, and pretty soon the whole place is lit up, right? If you just lived like that forever, as though you were the people who walked out and started dancing first. If you were the dude who started dancing first, I mean, and then if everybody else started deciding to live that way too, can you imagine what we would be able to do with absolutely no hesitation? So just like, go climb a tree or something.
I don't know how to
make your dreams come true. Yeah, no, for real, just like Shia LaBeouf your way through the world. That is the way life is supposed to be.
So be yourself.
Your way through the world.
I think for me, the best advice I can give you, which you might have heard this already, is to get involved, but more than just getting involved at FAU, it's seeking those opportunities. Find those opportunities to shine, to become a leader, whether they're big or small, and that's going to be through that involvement. I wish somebody would have told me that sooner, because I look back and I've had a great time at FAU, and I hope to continue and be at FAU for a little bit longer. But when I look at my freshman year, I wish that I would have started getting more involved in taking more opportunities and taking risks and developing my leadership a lot quicker. And so for those of you, those freshmen and sophomores,